What's good, YouTube? Look, this is a kind of news, right? Just came in 13th November is when this article is written on this website, Kenyans.co.ke, right? And the statement there, as you can see, is Africans and Indian passengers traveling through El Salvador will have to pay $1,000, right? That's 172,000 shillings. That's around $1,000. Now, what's interesting about this is we know that a lot of Africans, coming from Cameroon, specifically West Africans, travel through South America in order to go into America. All right, we're talking about United States of America, etc., or Canada. So they use these countries in South America as a through route, right? They go there and then they, find ways to escape and go through the jungle and reach United States of America. But the issue here is this, right? First of all, how is the Kenyan government allowing this to happen without putting sanctions on El Salvador? Kenyans generally don't go through this route to reach America. Most Kenyans just go through the normal airport routes, right? But that's even despite the point. African Union needs to be doing something. Stuff like this, right? Putting random fees on random people using this as a through route over there just by saying, oh, well, a lot of them are actually using this to go into America, and not actually having a backlash against this is what makes me think all these African countries are being cucked. This is just an example of African nations not having pride in themselves when their people are being abused around the world, that this is going to happen. Now, I believe the Indian government will do something about this way before the African government does. Anyways, let's go through this and say Kenyans, right? This is titled Kenyans because it's a Kenyan website, but it's actually Africans at large, right? From Kenyans traveling to or transiting, right? Look at that. Or even just transiting through El Salvador's international airport will now be forced to pay $1,000. According to official communication by South American countries' Port Authority, this particular one, as quoted by the Times of India, El Salvador is going to put that charge on all passengers originating from Africa. Look at that. On all passengers originating from Africa and India in a bid to deter illegal migration to the United States through Central America. As if they care about that, right? That's not really the issue. The decision to implement this fee stems from the El Salvador's government concern over data indicating misuse of the country as a transit point for illegal migration, specifically to America by Indian and African citizens. Here's the thing, right? El Salvador obviously does not care about migrants going to America or anything like that. They clearly just want to make money and embarrass these countries. All I'm saying is, where is any spokespeople from any so-called Pan-African things speaking about this, making it clear, and then imposing restrictions to El Salvador? Right now, Kenya should have said, okay, if El Salvador is going to put this tax, we'll put tax on El Salvadorians. That's how it works. Tit for tat sometimes actually works best. But I don't think I'm going to see that, because there's no pride in a lot of these African countries. That's what that minimum, right? The absolute minimum. The African Union is a whole union that has apparently some kind of power. If the African Union lobbied the rest of the countries in Africa and said, this is an embarrassment, and you're punishing innocent people who are actually coming there for other reasons, then you should also be punished according to us. They should put equal restrictions to a lot of these African countries. But I don't think I'll see that, right? This is the stuff that I see, and I'm just like, Africans really just don't know how to deal with stuff. Look at this. Airlines are mandated to provide Salvadoran authorities with daily reports of passengers arriving from a roster of 50-something African countries and India. I don't even know if Africa's got 57 countries, lol. But anyways, to ensure 100% compliance, passengers from India and African nations must pay the fee prior to boarding flights to El Salvador. The decision to charge the tax was hatched after President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador met with Brian Nicholas, a U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs. Right. The decision to charge, right? As you can see there, that this is a concoction planned by America and El Salvador. Meanwhile, data shows that over 2,000 Kenyans visit El Salvador every year using a tourist visa. So look at that, right? No, let's look at this from a realistic. This is just from the data. So data shows, right, that 2,000 Kenyans go there with a tourist visa, as in they're coming back, right? Most of them are coming back. So let's assume that, because Kenyans don't need to go to America through this route. Kenyans usually call it legitimate, right? We don't really hear Kenyans using these dangerous routes to go to. There's no data on it, right? So let's do the maths, right? So 2,000 people, right? Look at that, right? And you multiply that by that $1,000. Do you know how much we're getting? We're getting over $2 million, right, worth of Kenyan money going into El Salvador on legitimate people. Anyways, let's go ahead. Kenyans traveling to El Salvador have a passport that is valid for 6 months. Beyond that point, their intended stay. Additionally, they must provide proof of onward travel from El Salvador, etc. The levies most target. Yeah, exactly. All I can say is this, right? We just don't have leaders that are willing to do anything against this, and that's why this keeps happening. This kind of embarrassment is going to keep happening. I'm sure India will put immediate restrictions. You'll see it, right? I'll do an update on that. Africa, nah. Let's read what the comment people are saying. If we have worthless leaders in Africa, we would not. If we didn't have worthless leaders in Africa, we would not be humiliated like this by Western countries. The problem is we have cowards for leaders who are used as puppets and betray our motherland in exchange for what they think is power and richness. Africa must feel enough is enough. African nations should reciprocate. Exactly. After all, who goes to El Salvador in the first place? Exactly. I have never even heard of such a country, city, or whatever it is, right? Etc. So this is actually a really good point. Anyways, guys, we'll be back later on. Shout out. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below.